Why do some wounds never heal, no matter how much therapy, time, or effort you invest? Why do certain emotional patterns keep repeating, even after you've done everything right? Carl Jung believed it's because most people are trying to silence the fire, when the real answer is to listen to its message. Your anxiety, your pain, your sadness, they're not random. They are the voice of your unconscious trying to speak, and until you stop running, until you finally decode what your shadow is trying to show you, you'll keep living in cycles of self-sabotage, broken relationships, and a deep inner void. Most people want to get rid of pain like it's a virus. But Jung taught, pain isn't the virus, it's the alarm. And until you stop shutting off that alarm, the fire inside keeps burning. This isn't about motivation. It's not about willpower. It's about decoding the hidden emotional blueprint that's quietly shaping your entire life. And that blueprint lives inside the shadow. So today we're going to confront what most people avoid. And in doing so, you may finally unlock the healing you've been chasing your whole life. Close your eyes for just a second. Take a breath. Now, ask yourself, how long have you been carrying this pain, pretending it's not there? How many times have you smiled, succeeded, moved on, while a part of you was silently breaking? Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." The wounds you carry, they didn't come from weakness, they came from survival, from trying to be enough in a world that taught you to hide your truth, repress your fears, and fake your strength. But pain doesn't disappear just because you ignore it. It waits. It disguises itself as anxiety, emptiness, failed relationships, overthinking, even chronic illness. And here's the hard truth, it won't go away until you finally listen. Because pain is not the problem, pain is the message. In this video, I want to walk with you through the doorway Jung opened for all of us. We'll explore why emotional wounds never fully heal until you do this one thing. The one thing almost. No one talks about integrating the shadow. This isn't therapy, this is a reckoning with your past, with your patterns, with the parts of you you've rejected, avoided, silenced. And if this speaks to you, if something inside whispers, "This, here's what I needed to hear," then maybe it's time. Time to go deeper, to truly understand the language of your pain and rewrite your story from the inside out. Many people have asked for a deeper, step-by-step guide, and that's why we've created a powerful ebook that expands on everything you'll hear today. If you feel ready, if something inside of you is finally asking for real change, you'll find the link in the pinned comment. It's there for those who want to dive deeper, with tools, reflections, and insights that don't just inspire, but transform. And if you're walking this journey too, subscribe. Join us. Here, we speak the truths most people are too afraid to say. And if you're still here reading this, it means your healing has already begun. At first, it seems like a flaw. You cry too much, you get triggered too easily. You overthink every word, every silence, every rejection. You feel like you're too much for some and never enough for others. But what if I told you none of that is a flaw? What if your wounds are not there to destroy you, but to wake you up? Carl Jung didn't see suffering as something to be avoided. He saw it as a symbol, a message coded in pain, a quiet voice of the unconscious screaming to be heard. And until you decode that message, until you stop trying to run from the fire and actually ask why it burns, your mind will keep creating the same chaos, the same sabotages, the same patterns, over and over again. You'll attract people who mirror your unresolved wounds. You'll sabotage things that feel too good because deep down, you never believed you deserved them. You'll confuse anxiety for intuition, and you'll keep calling it destiny or bad luck or just how life is. But it's not life, it's your shadow. In Jungian psychology, the shadow is not evil, it's not a demon, it's every single part of you that you were told wasn't acceptable. The anger you swallowed, the tears you hid, the envy you denied, the softness you locked away, and even the joy you weren't allowed to feel. The shadow is the part of you that was never held, never heard, never validated. And here's the truth most people never hear. Your emotional pain is the shadow's voice. It shows up through panic, attacks, through numbness, through exhaustion that no amount of rest can cure. It's the mind saying, something inside me was abandoned, and I can't carry it anymore. And yet, most of us were taught to silence it, to push it down, to put on a smile and keep functioning. So what happens? That shadow doesn't vanish. It leaks into your everyday life. It disguises itself as the inner critic that tells you you're failing. It becomes the anxiety before a message is even read. It turns into resentment toward those who seem free while you feel stuck. And worst of all, it shapes your relationships. You begin to crave the very wounds you're trying to escape. You repeat old cycles because they're familiar. You might even reject healthy love because your shadow doesn't recognize it as safe, but it's not your fault. No one taught us to listen to our pain. They only taught us to suppress it. We were told to move on, to stay strong, to think positive. But Jung taught something different. He taught us to sit in the discomfort, to turn toward the thing we fear, to make the unconscious conscious so it no longer runs our lives. From the dark. So let me ask you something. What if the pain you feel isn't something to escape, but something to interpret? What if your anxiety is your inner child begging for safety? What if your rage is the boundary that was never allowed to exist? What if your sadness is a sacred call to finally come home to yourself? The problem is never the emotion. It's the exile, and healing begins when you stop treating your emotions as enemies and start seeing them as guides. This is the beginning of shadow work, not just journaling, not just affirmations, but facing the parts of yourself you've spent a lifetime hiding. And when you do, something shifts. You begin to respond to life instead of reacting. You begin to choose with clarity instead of desperation. You begin to feel whole, not perfect, but real, because no amount of external success can compensate for an internal war. And you deserve peace. Real peace. Not the kind that comes from avoiding conflict, but the kind that comes from facing your truth. So, if this is resonating with you, pause, breathe, and ask yourself, what am I still running from inside me? That question is the first key. And if you're ready to go deeper, we've created something powerful for you. In the pinned comment, you'll find a guide, a letter to your shadow, to your inner child, to every part of you that was left behind. It's not just words, it's a map back to your truth. And this video is only the beginning. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. We go deeper here, into the places most people avoid, not because it's easy, but because it's time. Time to stop running. Time to stop pretending. Time to integrate what's been calling you from the dark. It often starts as a question we don't even know we're asking. Why do I always end up in the same kind of relationship? Why do I sabotage good things in my life? Why do I feel empty even when everything looks fine? You may think these are random misfortunes, but Jung would say they're not. They are patterns, and they're trying to tell you something. They are your shadow at work. The shadow is subtle. It hides behind habits. It disguises itself as preferences, quirks, or just how I've always been. But underneath, it's a force silently shaping your life. And unless you become aware of it, you will keep making the same choices, loving the same unavailable people, avoiding the same kinds of emotions, believing the same painful story about yourself. Here's the hard truth. The shadow is not what happened to you. It's what you learn to believe about yourself because of what happened to you. Let that sink in. It's not the rejection itself. It's the belief that you are unlovable. It's not the absence of affection. It's the belief that your needs are a burden. It's not the failure. It's the shame that told you, I am not enough. These beliefs become unconscious truths, and you don't even know you're living by them until your life starts showing you where they've taken root. A partner leaves you, and suddenly your entire self-worth collapses. A friend cancels, and it spirals into feelings of abandonment. You get praised and feel like a fraud. These aren't logical responses. They're emotional echoes from a past that was never fully processed. Jung called this the complex. It's a cluster of emotional energy stored in the unconscious, waiting for a situation to trigger it again. And when it does, you don't respond as the adult you are. You react as the child you were when the wound was created. This is why people often say, "I don't know what came over me. That wasn't me. I just snapped." No, it was you, but it was your unintegrated you, the shadow self, the part you never got to understand, soothe, or transform. So how do you break this cycle? It begins with a radical shift. Instead of asking, "How do I get rid of this pain?" you ask, "What is this pain trying to teach me?" Because every trigger is an invitation, every moment of discomfort is a mirror, and every pattern you repeat is a puzzle piece of your inner map. This is where real healing starts. It's not about affirming you're good enough. It's about understanding why you ever believed you weren't. It's not about chasing love. It's about facing the part of you that learned love had to be earned. It's not about being positive all the time. It's about making space for the entire emotional spectrum, grief, anger, envy, fear, and seeing them not as enemies but as messengers. You cannot change what you won't face, and you cannot free yourself from a story if you don't know you're living inside one. That's the work. To pause, to witness, to explore the pain, not just to feel it but to decode it. Jung called this shadow integration. It's the process of bringing the unseen into the light. It's not easy. It demands honesty. It demands that you hold space for contradictions inside yourself. You might find that your fear of rejection is also tied to your fear of being seen, that your perfectionism is actually masking deep self-doubt, that your anger is a boundary you were never allowed to express. These realizations are uncomfortable because they break the illusion, but they are also liberating because they return your power. Suddenly, you don't need others to validate your worth. You don't need to replay the past in every relationship. You don't need to fix yourself. You only need to become more yourself. This is the real alchemy Jung spoke of. Not turning lead into gold, but turning unconscious pain into conscious wisdom. And here's something most people miss. Your shadow doesn't just hold your wounds. It holds your gifts. The courage you denied, the voice you silenced, the intuition you were taught to doubt, the wild, creative, sacred parts of you that had to go underground to survive. Reclaiming your shadow means reclaiming your life. And it begins with a conversation. That's why if this message has resonated with you, you'll find something waiting in the pinned comment. A guide, a mirror, a letter to the parts of you you've forgotten how to love. It's not just something to read. It's something to experience. This journey doesn't end here, it deepens, and if you're ready for that next step, the path is already opening. Subscribe if you haven't yet. Because we are building something rare here, a space where real healing happens. Not surface-level tips, but true transformation, rooted in psychology, truth, and soul. You're not alone in this, and you never were. You can't outrun what lives inside you. You might change cities, find a new partner, start a different job, even adopt a whole new personality, but your shadow will always follow, not to punish you, but to bring you back home. And at some point, you will feel it, in the silence between distractions, in the heaviness that creeps in after the excitement fades, in the subtle ache that whispers, "Something inside me is still waiting." This is your soul's quiet rebellion against the masks you've been taught to wear. It is the call to stop performing and to finally feel the weight of your unspoken grief, to feel the hunger of your unmet needs, to feel the exhaustion of pretending to be fine when you're not. Most of us were never taught how to feel. We were taught how to cope, how to smile, how to survive. We learned to rationalize our emotions instead of honoring them. We learned that vulnerability was weakness, that sadness was inconvenient, that anger was dangerous, so we suppressed, we internalized, we minimized. Until one day, the body kept the score. The mind fractured, the heart closed. Carl Jung understood this intimately. He said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." Read that again. The fears you don't name will choose your relationships. The wounds you don't heal will shape your decisions. The pain you avoid will become your personality. This is not your fault, but it is your responsibility. The moment you realize this is the moment healing begins. Because now, instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" You begin to ask, what inside me is being asked to wake up? This is what shadow work is all about. Not eliminating pain, but allowing pain to become the portal. Not silencing the parts of you that are loud, but listening to the parts that have gone quiet. The inner child who stopped dreaming, the adolescent who started settling, the adult who is still trying to prove they're enough. They are still there, inside. You and they are not asking for perfection. They are asking for presence, to stop running, to sit in the discomfort, to be seen, to be heard, to be held by you. Yes, it's hard. Yes, it's uncomfortable. But the freedom on the other side is real. Because when you finally sit with your shadow, something miraculous happens. It begins to soften. It stops screaming. It stops sabotaging. It starts guiding. And you start remembering who you were before. They told you who to be. Who you are beneath all the survival strategies. Who you are becoming now that you're no longer running from yourself. This is the transformation Jung called individuation. The process of becoming whole. Not by fixing what's broken, but by integrating what was exiled. Not by escaping the past, but by giving it new meaning. Not by erasing your scars, but by turning them into symbols of strength. You are not behind in life, you are not broken. You are awakening, and every emotional wound you carry is not a dead end. It's a doorway, but only if you're willing to walk through it. That's why for those who are truly ready, there's a guide waiting for you in the pinned comment. It's not a shortcut. It's not a fix. It's a mirror, a reflection of your deeper self, of the version of you that is brave enough to stop avoiding the inner work and start facing it fully and lovingly. The ebook is designed to help you decode the messages behind your emotional pain, to help you understand the language of your shadow and finally step into the light of your own awareness. Because healing isn't about becoming someone new. It's about remembering the truth of who you've always been before the world told you to forget. And if you've been moved by this message, if something inside you stirred while listening, you're not alone. We're building a space here for people like you. People who are tired of living on autopilot. People who are ready to transform, not just feel better temporarily, but live differently. So subscribe, join us. Let this be your turning point. Not just another video, not just more information, but a moment of decision to stop abandoning yourself and start reclaiming your story. You've already survived so much. Now it's time to thrive. One last truth Jung left us with. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. And that journey, it starts the moment you stop running from your shadow and start walking with it. Hand in hand, heart open, eyes clear. This is not the end, it's the beginning. Let's walk this path together. Your inner child is still listening. So what will you choose to say? There comes a moment in your healing journey when you realize you were never broken, only burdened. Not behind, just misled by a world that taught you to disconnect from yourself. Not unloved, but waiting to return to a love that had to begin with you. Your inner child never asked for a perfect version of you. She never needed you to have all the answers. She only wanted you to stop abandoning her the way others once did. And that moment, when you finally sit with her, when you stop asking her to be quiet, to behave, to disappear, that's the moment your soul exhales. Because healing isn't about becoming a version of you that has it all together. It's about returning to the one who was never allowed to fall apart. It's about understanding that your deepest emotional wounds aren't signs of weakness. They're sacred messages. They are not there to shame you. They are there to awaken you. Carl Jung didn't just theorize about the unconscious. He reminded us of something essential. The parts of you that you've tried hardest to silence are the very parts that can set you free. And if you're still here, if you've listened to this message all the way through, it's not by chance. Something in you already knew. Something in you has been asking for this shift. Not a surface-level change, but a return to the truth of who you are. Beneath the roles, the masks, and the wounds, you are not your trauma. You are not your mistakes. You are not the voice in your head telling you you're not enough. You are what remains when all of that is finally released. And here's the most beautiful part. You don't have to walk this path alone. If you're ready to go deeper, to truly explore the roots of your emotional patterns, to understand why you feel the way you do, and most importantly, how to transform that pain into clarity and peace, then we created something for you. It's not just a book. It's a companion, a quiet guide that helps you decode your subconscious, understand the emotional why behind the patterns that keep repeating, and reconnect with the power of your own soul. You'll find the link in the pinned comment. And no, this isn't about fixing yourself. This is about reuniting with the parts of you that were never truly broken. Inside the pages, you'll find space to reflect, to breathe, to rewrite the narrative. It's the kind of support many of us never received growing up, but can finally choose now. If the message of this video touched something inside you, if you felt seen, understood, or even just a little more human, then this guide was written with you in mind. And if you're not ready to take that step just yet, that's okay too. That's why we'll keep showing up for you here, week after week, with content designed not to motivate us, but to heal, to hold space, to offer insight, to remind you of the truth when the world gets too loud. So please, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and give yourself the gift of this space. A place where your pain isn't too much, where your silence is respected, where your journey matters. Because healing doesn't happen all at once. But it does happen, with presence, with love, and with truth. And every time you choose to return to yourself, you're not starting over. You're continuing the most sacred story you'll ever live, the story of your becoming. So breathe, close your eyes, and remember, you are not lost. You are not too late. You are just waking up to who you truly are. And if you ever need a quiet guide to walk beside you in that process, you know where to find it. Ebook link in the pinned comment. Subscribe to the channel for weekly healing messages. We'll be right here walking with you always.